Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with the most. Get your carnival tickets ready. 2 for 1, 2 for 1. We're going to talk about fairs, festivals, and the Andy Griffith Show in this episode of JJ Meets World. Sit back, relax, and by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle's sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Tucker, I want to talk about fairs.
Let's.
Because we are in fair season right now.
And you're talking about F-A-I-R, not F-A-R-E, like a taxi fare.
Right. Or, I mean, technically F-A-I-R-E if you're talking about the Renaissance variety.
We're not talking about A-F-F-A-I-R and a fair. That's not what we're talking about.
No, we are not. No, we are talking about county fairs, carnivals, state fairs, all of that kind of fun stuff. Because I've never been one where like the fair is the main attraction to me for anything, but I have found myself having some really amazing nights at fairs. When I was a kid, I wasn't into the ride side of things. Believe it or not, I was into wanting to go on or like wanting to do all the games. Like that was my big thing, was I wanted to see if I could beat them, because I watched a 60 Minutes as a kid where they showed all the inside of, hey, this is how you beat the games, right? This is like when you are tossing a baseball into a basket, the basket has a rubber bottom, so it's going to bounce them off. So what you want to do is you want to aim for the brim of the basket and like roll it in there. Did you have a game of chance that you thought you were better at when it came to fairs and carnivals?
Well, I was the same when it came to rides, although I'm still that way. I have no interest in rides whatsoever, unless it's just like a nice, gentle, like a Ferris wheel is nice. I think that's lovely. But like roller coasters, not into them. Anything that's supposed to scare you or make you feel sick to your stomach, I'm really not into. I would always try to do get a ping pong ball into a goldfish bowl. And then you'd get that goldfish. Do they still do that? Is that still a thing that gets done?
I believe they do. I think one of the hard parts about it is, those goldfish can die so easily because the temperature outside is fluctuating so much.
Yeah. Well, they're in a teeny tiny little bowl. I mean, they're not going to live in that.
And then they give it to you in a plastic bag and you're still carrying around that bag for the rest of the carnival. How many, like at the end of the night, honestly, like how many dead fish bags do you think they're like constantly cleaning up? And they're like, ugh.
I bet at the end of the whole fest, they're probably just going, all right, dump it all in the water supply. They're not taking those fish with them to the next location. That's for sure. No.
They are going and cleaning out some like PetSmart, and then they're going to make their money. So what I understood was this: the people who run the games usually are employed, like essentially like someone comes in and bids like for the contract for that game for the season. And they have a stake in how much that game is going to make. And so they can hire employees, and the employees, yes, are part of the midway itself, but they're really under your management. And so let's say you and I went in and we wanted to do the game where you shoot the water at a clown face, and if you got it in the clown's mouth, there's a balloon on top of the thing, and the first one to pop their balloon wins, right? So you hire your staff to come out there, and you want people who are good at goading people in, right? You want the people who are like, they're like, here
Step
we go,
right up.
lucky winner, here you go.
Hey there, slugger. Wouldn't you like to win something for your lady friend?
There you go. Be like, oh, you're certainly not a masculine man. whatever they can do to try and get you to come in there and sit down, or like, like one more, because they don't want to give away a prize.
Right.
If it's just two people competing.
Right. Hey, asshole, do you want to not be a total piece of shit? Come play this game. No,
hey.
you're a piece of shit.
Hey there, idiot. Why don't you give me some of your money and I'll give you something that's not flame retardant? You know what? There's our Carney audience is going to be so mad when they listen to this. They're going to send us so much hate mail.
A lot of like greasy hate mail from different locations in the Midwest.
Right. Like, I imagine people's Carney names aren't like Larry. It's like Oily Larry and, Greasy Gus and Vaseline Vic.
When are we going to get
slick names?
When are we going to get that TV show where it's like The Sopranos, but for carnies?
Dude, get HBO on the line right now. They need that idea. Right? Well, actually, it's been done, right?
What was the show?
I want to say it was Carnival is what it was called, but it was it was set like in the 1920s maybe, and it followed it maybe ran for 3 seasons almost at the same time that The Sopranos did.
Yeah, we need like modern day carnies, not 1920s carnies. And didn't Carnival have like a fantasy element to it as well? I don't know. I didn't watch it. You're thinking there's another one where it's like it's where like fairies and witches are real. Yeah.
And that was another series. Okay. Carnival ran for 2 seasons. It is about the Dust Bowl era of the Great Depression in the 1930s. And it was created by Daniel Knopf.
There's no way that
it ran for 2 seasons about traveling carnival.
You're looking this up. There's no way you're remembering this, right? You're just looking this up.
This is off the top of my head. In fact, I remember the show's mythology draws upon themes and motifs from traditional Christianity and Noetism.
You're reading
together with Masonic lore as well.
Yeah, you're reading ChatGPT right now, aren't you? You're on ChatGPT right now.
I believe the cast included 100%. Michael J. Anderson, Adrian Barbeau, Patrick Clancy Brown.
Goddamn Chat GPT.
No. This is off the top of my head. In fact, its release date specifically was September 7th, 2003. And it ran until, I'm going to say March 27th, 2025. A total of 24 episodes.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure. That was all off the top of my head.
That's why I'm always on your team at trivia.
Yeah. Right. In fact, do you want to ask me about any subject matter on the planet? I probably know something about it.
No, I don't. I don't want to know anything.
Okay. So if I worked at a carnival, I would want to do the guess your weight or your age.
Uh-huh.
I think that my skill set would have been really good at that because if you remember the scene in the movie The Jerk, our main character, Steve Martin's Nathan, is having to guess people's weight. And he goes, gosh, I haven't been right today about anything. And he goes, well, what did you do? And he goes, I gave away 3 pencils, 4 of these, 5 of these. He goes, Nathan, you made $200 and you gave away 15 cents worth of crap. And I think that's kind of the mentality because this is the thing that we're not talking about. When a kid's YouTube page gets shut down because they can do the voice of Mickey Mouse really well. And so they're like, what if Mickey read the school lunches at my school this week? And it's like, hoo-hoo, it's chicken tenders. And then Disney sends
Mickey
that kid.
Is so good.
So good, right? So then Disney sends that kid a cease and desist. And but the carnivals are getting away with all of this stuff that is clearly not official merchandise.
Yeah, but you know what? You want to know why? It's because the carnivals don't have a fixed address. How is the company supposed to send them a cease and desist when they don't have an address? They're like, oh, yeah, we're in the parking lot of this shutdown Kmart here in Tennessee. And then next week, we're going to be in Rhode Island at a Lutheran church, right? There's no way they can probably be sent it. That's probably the way you stay out of jail entirely, is just don't have a home.
Just to stay on the move. Well, see, now that's where I think the series is good because in it, the carnival itself, okay, is being run by the daughter of her father is ailing, right? He's been at carnival. He's got carnival lung, which makes the lungs look like cotton candy. And everything he bites into tastes like a cheese curd. And he's dying, and so his daughter is kind of like she's been raised in the carnival world, so now she's got to be taking over. Meanwhile, the United States government starts the first ever Bureau of Carnival Oversight, the BCO. And there's a young hotshot who wants to make a name for himself, who's been named the director of the BCO. And he's got to go. And so he's going to shut down this carnival, and because they're not following guidelines. But here's the thing. No carnivals ever followed guidelines, because carnival's about heart. It's not about safety and OSHA and all of this other stuff.
Especially in the 1930s.
So, yeah. Do you know what the name of this show would be? The Ferris wheel. Because, and the opening, you know how the opening of The Sopranos is Tony driving through New Jersey and stuff like that on the tollway. Is this would be a shot of the Ferris wheel, it goes to the top, and then you watch the carnival get set up, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime, and then you watch all the carnival lights get shut down at the end of the night, and it's seedy.
Is it doing something funny with the spelling, like Ferris, Fairis wheel?
Oh yeah, fair us.
What constitutes a fair? Because as you were listing off all of the fairs, I almost said, well, then we also had the Rib Fest, right? But that's a festival.
Yeah.
That's not a fair. But there was a bounce house there. There was a stage. A lot of people around there looked like they could have been carnies. So what makes a fair versus a festival?
Well, I would have to guess that a fair is, it's a gathering of people for a variety of entertainment and commercial activities. Fairs are typically temporary with scheduled times lasting from an afternoon to several weeks. Fairs will showcase a wide range of goods, products, and services, and often include competitions, exhibitions, and educational activities.
Stop reading ChatGPT, goddammit.
Fairs can be thematic, focusing on specific industries or interests.
Fuck you. Oh my God. You want to know how I knew a radio ad I was hearing the other day was written by ChatGPT? Because they were selling wedding rings, and the copy began like this. Attention, all wedding band enthusiasts.
Oh, God. So in my industry, ChatGPT has been taking hold because first of all, this is what I've noticed. So I think a lot of times they say, well, the radio people are just lazy. That's not the case. So we have a full-time creative department, and our creative department writes ads for you. And to my understanding, they are not using ChatGPT for this, because why would you want to put yourself out of a job? First of all, right? Secondly, their problem was when they were first experimenting with ChatGPT, you'd give it a prompt write me a 30-second audio ad for a plumbing company. And out of the 40 they tried, 38 of them started with "Hey" with an exclamation point. So ChatGPT was that's how you get someone's attention, by saying "Hey." But what I've really noticed with them is that they a lot of people who say, "Well, I'll write my own ad for this," or "We've got an in-house marketing person." I think they're the culprits who are really going to town and taking ChatGPT and using that, because when you get something, when I get copy in front of me, I know immediately if this was written by a computer or a human being.
Yeah.
Even just some of the phrasing, and not that it's bad, but you can just tell the difference. Just like you can tell the difference between Spider-Man and Man Spider, right? What's the Sci-Fi Channel ripoff of Spider-Man that they're going to put on, 2 weeks after Spider-Man comes out because they saw the trailer and they rushed something into production for only 4 months. So so your question about fairs and festivals, I guess part of me wants to say a festival is more niche than a fair. Okay. So if you think about this, if you go to a rib fest, you know for a fact the second you walk in there, the barbecue ribs are the centerpiece of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus you walk into a fair and there's rides, but then there's also the 4-H bins, but then there's also the concerts, but then there's also, a pie eating contest. There's the competition part of some of these things. And then I feel like fairs are much more local than festivals. Like a festival seems to me like it roams from town to town and just picks where it's going to be based on like a corporate mentality of this is where the most money can be garnered.
You're saying a festival does that or a fair does that?
I'm saying a festival does that versus a fair is something that like the community actually decides we're going to invite that thing here. So like maybe a fair's invited and a festival comes on its own.
I don't think. Well, no, because Rib Fest just. I don't know. I'm thinking a fair is really just a festival centered around whimsy.
Whimsy, you say?
Yeah. So every fair to me is a whimsy festival.
Is a whimsy festival. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but like, I think that actually I think about like this. So poultry, right? Poultry covers a bunch of different types of birds that you eat. I think the term fair is poultry and the term festival is like duck. And
so it's like all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises.
Bingo.
Does that mean that all fairs are festivals, but not all festivals are fairs?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense to me. Because I'd be like, festive is in the title. Isn't a fair festive? I think it is. But then again, now I don't know what festive means unless it's like a festival. I don't know.
I also think that like at one point we got super into naming different things fairs that at one point like the term fair got overused, right? And that's why festivals started taking it because like job fair, right? Have you ever heard of a job festival?
No, that's a good point.
Job fair. Science fair, but no science festival. So at one point, the word fair, people were like, listen, if we attach the word fair to this, people are going to want to come to it. In fact, not only are they going to want to come to it, but they're probably going to want a carny while they're there. But secondly,
are there conventions for fairs? Because if there was a fair convention, that could be the fair festival.
Well, it's called the World's Fair, right?
All the festivals, all the fairs come to that one.
Yeah. And then I think they look to like what's going on in the world.
I see. And then they bring it back they vote on who the next leader of all fairs in the world will be.
Right. I mean, that's why they build giant warehouses and like festival halls, because you got to get all the carnies in there and you have to have a really good system for getting rid of smoke because everyone's smoking cigars at the same time.
Yeah.
At the fair. And then of course you've got the movie Charlotte's Web with who is the name of Templeton the Rat? Paul Lynde who is also Uncle Arthur when he was on Bewitched, but he sings, "A fair is a veritable smorgasbord, orgasbord after the crowds have ceased." And it's like dirty popcorn, watermelon, and so it's all about how he gluts and eats and eats and eats. And then you get blue ribbons at fairs, which is fun. I've never won a blue ribbon for anything I've done, but I do think about this. Do you ever watch any episodes of the Andy Griffith Show?
Yeah, especially when I used to go over and hang out at my grandparents' house in Moorhead. I'd always have Nick Jr. on, and then in the afternoon it wouldn't be Nick Jr. or Nick at Night. It would then just be things like that show.
Okay, perfect. So did you ever see the episode where Aunt B is making her pickles?
No.
Now, you hate pickles, so this would probably be a tough episode for you to watch, but
Yeah.
Aunt B every year makes pickles, and she thinks everyone loves them, but they all know that the pickles are horrible. And so, but when she makes them, she's so excited. So she brings Andy and Barney lunch, and she like in their sandwiches, and she wraps up 2 pickles for each of them, and they each take a bite, and they're like, "Oh, Aunt B, these are the best pickles we've ever had." Mm-mm. And she goes, "Oh, good, because I made like a double batch of pickles this year." And so they're thinking like, "Oh my God, we're going to have to eat these pickles all year round, and they're disgusting." So Andy and Barney, with the help of Opie, played by Ron Howard, go and they buy a bunch of store-bought pickles one town over. And then they switch the pickles in Aunt B's jars with the pickles in the store-bought ones. And now they're like, "Ooh, Aunt B, you can bring these pickles whenever you want. These are so good. Pickles." And so Aunt B decides, since everyone loves her pickles so much, she's going to enter them into the county fair and take home a blue ribbon. And now all of a sudden, Andy who has told Opie at this point that like they're not doing this because they want to be mean to Aunt B. It's just that her telling a lie is worth more in this situation than telling the truth, because it would hurt Aunt B's so much that if they can just do this switcheroo on the pickles, it'll be good for them, and it's going to be good for Aunt B because they won't be make her feel bad. So they are now in a real conundrum, and they're
in a real pickle.
They are in a real. I hope that's the name of the episode. We're in a pickle.
I was waiting for this moment to happen. Keep going.
So they go, and if I'm going to be honest, I usually fall asleep before the end of the episode, but I'm pretty sure they have to go and tell Aunt B that what happened. And
like, how often have you tried to watch this episode where you're like, usually when I try to watch this episode, I fall asleep?
Dozen times. But I think about it while I'm crawling into bed, right? And so I pop it on.
Next time you watch it, just start halfway through. You've already seen the first half.
No, I can't do that with an Andy of Mayberry episode. I got to watch the beginning because I love that theme song so goddamn much.
Mm-hmm, you do.
So
it's
good.
A problem.
It makes me feel like a better person listening to that theme song.
It does make you a better person.
It does, right? Exactly.
For sure.
And it makes you want to whistle. And so, and maybe that's the thing is I've never tried this, but I've never been whistled to sleep. But based on this idea, I probably could be whistled to sleep. So, but it makes me think. It makes me think about winning blue ribbons and how Aunt B. And I think that, oh God, I want to. In my mind somewhere, there's a thing where she's like, "Well, Andy, why didn't you just tell me the truth? You know, I would have." She's like, "It hurts, but I wish you would have told me the truth." And he's like, "Yep, I'm smarter now. I should have known." And it's a sweet moment between the family and Barney, who isn't allowed to walk around with a loaded gun. He has to keep a bullet in his pocket, and he has to take it out of his pocket if he's ever going to try and shoot somebody.
Has there ever been like a really serious episode of that show where like, yeah, there was an officer involved shooting, or like they decided to tackle drug abuse or something like that?
I think that there were some episodes that were pretty, like, because the whole point is that it's small town America, right? And it was a quote unquote simpler time. But I think they do tackle some stuff. Now, a police involved shooting, probably not. But I swear that at one point, like, somebody shoots at Andy.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Okay.
And there's probably, I think that there's one about prostitution.
Ooh.
Where a lady of the night, someone tries to open a dance hall.
Is there any connective tissue between that show and Matlock?
Yes. Justice.
Oh, okay. Thanks, ChatGPT.
No, I mean, I'm serious. Like, he goes from being a lawyer to being a cop. He's basically law and order. I don't think that there is any connective tissue other than the fact of like Matlock, like a good friend of his is Don Knotts. So like there's an episode where he has to help Don Knotts out after Don Knotts is like accused of a crime.
Is Don Knotts playing himself?
No, he plays like Matlock's best friend.
Okay. Do you think
And
those
so
two
I
actually
think
liked
like
each
there's
other?
that. What was that?
Do you think those two actually liked each other? I bet they
I think they
hated
did
each
a
other.
lot. I absolutely
Yeah.
think they liked each other a lot.
They probably did.
In fact, I think that they liked each other so much that if they had decided to make a new version of that show while everyone was still alive and acting, I think they would have done that.
If they made a new version of that show, but they cast you and me, which one of those two characters do you think we're playing?
Oh, I mean, I think we both think that we're both Andy Griffith. But I would say this. I think that I would gladly take either role, so I'd let you have the Andy Griffith side of it.
I think you would be Andy Griffith because I don't know how to grill.
Okay.
Like that enough
point.
makes me not like a leader in small town America.
I think that if they remade this show and they're like, JJ and Tucker, what roles do you guys want to take on? I think the key roles for us would be to be like Floyd the barber or the guy who's drunk and has his own keys to the cell so that when he leaves the bar, he can just let himself in for public drunkenness to sleep it off.
Or the son, Ron Howard.
Now, see, do you think how would you feel about playing my son?
I'd be down with it.
So here's the premise of the new Andy Griffith Show. I am playing the grandson of the real Andy Griffith. And I decide I want to be a sheriff in a small town. And so I get hired. But when I get there, I fall in love with a mysterious older woman. And she has an adult son who's played by Tucker Lucas. And unfortunately, in the first episode, she gets hit by a grain cart. And as she's dying, she asks me to take care of her son. And then the city allows me to hire a deputy. And so you become my deputy. And things are tense between us for quite a while until I learn that you respond not from a strict way, like a military type way of doing things, but I see you give a blanket to a homeless person. And I understand that there's a softer side to you and that you like to help people. And then at the end of that episode, there's a huge, huge plot twist. And the plot twist is it turns out that you and I have also inherited a haunted B&B on the edge of town. So the third person is a ghost who helps us solve the crimes. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. The ultra twist during the end credits of the first episode of the new Andy Griffith Show is that everyone is also a robot.